Hello, my name is Siri Björken-Karlsson and I am the country director for ADRA Sweden. I think a little bit over a year ago, none of us would ever have imagined that when we talk about refugees, we were talking about Ukrainians. Because there was not a thought about this, even though there has been war in Ukraine since 2014. I have two visitors with me here in the studio today, and both of them are called Svetlana, and both of them are from Ukraine. And both of them are also refugees here in Sweden. And I would like to introduce them to you, and I would like also for them to tell a little bit of their story. And I'll begin with Svetlana, who is our Svetlana, because she's actually working with ADRA Sweden. So Svetlana Kozachenko, please tell a little bit about who you are and how it came to be that you came to Sweden.
I was born and raised in Western Ukraine. I had a happy life and family there. I got married and lived my last 20 years in Kiev. And in 2014, I was expecting my second child. And suddenly we had this terrible crisis happening there, which in history we know as Maidan. And people were shooting on the streets when actually it was time for me to deliver my baby. And it was really dangerous. It caused big stress to us. Mm. And after the baby was born, we as family were looking for a better place to live because we realized that the situation is becoming more and more dangerous. Mm. I happened to visit Sweden in 2012 and I was really amazed by how people treat people here, how much respect they have to each other and even to refugees. And I fell in love with this country and the culture, because the culture is very important to me. And I said to myself that it's a beautiful country. So when there was a time to choose where we should go to keep our children safe, to provide them secure place so that they could raise in security and in wealth and develop well, we choose Sweden. And we came here and we started our life here. And all my life I was involved in ADRA projects in Ukraine. We have different projects together with my church in orphanages and in many places for needed people. And I all my life was dreaming actually working for ADRA. And in Ukraine I was working in business school, and charity was not really in my plans. So when I came to Sweden, it was amazing to me to be invited to work as a part of ADRA team, and I was so pleased because it was like my dream came true. So I work in ADRA Sweden since 2016. I'm very proud of this team, to be the part of this team, to be the part of ADRA Global organization, and I feel my mission here.
Thank you so much for that. And we're very happy that you are actually working for ADRA Sweden, because you are part of the PR team. You are taking care of the donors that are giving in money and support to ADRA. My second Svetlana is a lady who came here just this year. She's only been here for 4 months. And I'm just thinking, please, Svetlana, tell your name, where you come from, and how it's been now.
Okay. My name is Svetlana Remzhina. I came in Sweden from Ukraine, from Sud town. Zaporizhia is very dangerous zone from Ukraine. Every day we had bombing, and we have now to this tragic problem. Yeah, I'm here 4 months.
Just 4 months.
Just 4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thank ADRA and Svetlana that I here.
That you're here.
That I'm
yes.
here. Yeah.
Now tell us a little bit, just Svetlana, what you were doing in Ukraine. What
Yeah,
was your work?
Yeah, in Ukraine, I singing in theater, and teach vocal in music school. Yes.
Svetlana has an unbelievably beautiful voice, and you are going to be seeing some photos also of when what she does in the theater, or what she was doing in Ukraine, was actually she was singing mainly opera, I understand.
Yes, yes.
And of course she was a big star there, and I don't think that you ever thought that you would leave Ukraine, because your whole future was in Ukraine.
Yes.
Yeah. And you were happy to be there, and you enjoyed the work you were doing?
Yes. Yeah. I had all in my country, and this is very tragic that I must leave it my country, my job, my town, my house, my family. All this is tragic, but now I can singing for Swedish people, and I see in eyes from people response and love. I stayed then stark.
You stayed very strong.
Very strong, yeah.
Yeah.
When I sing and when I see this
response.
energy
from the response.
And this is very important for me now.
Svetlana has, she has lived also in Europe earlier, because she has been living in Germany. And you can imagine how it is for her having to learn all these different languages. She has her Ukrainian, she knows her German, she has now she's learning Swedish and struggling with also the English language. And I'm just thinking that is such an unbelievable feat. And she speaks actually quite good, understands quite well the Swedish language also. So I think that she's done really well. But I would like you to tell us a little bit, we'll call you Sveta, how you actually got in contact with Svetlana to begin with.
History, yeah.
Yes, it's quite an history. In Ukraine, I was a singer myself, like Svetlana was. She's much better singing than me. But I was singing together with my friend who is now living in US, Larissa Petrichenko, and she had a big problem. She was living in US. Her mother and elderly mother and handicapped sister, they were living in Kiev. I knew the area. I knew that it was heavily bombed and rackets are under rackets attacks. And the problem for them was that they could not even go down to the shelter, because mother was stoically waiting until all this nightmare will pass away together with her daughter in their apartment. So we struggled finding the way this first months, how to actually provide for them proper transportation and provide for them evacuation to the more safety places. So eventually we did this project, and all this family now is in Sweden. Luckily, I want to say that I'm so proud that right now ADRA is providing this kind of evacuation for this kind of handicapped people. We were maybe one of the first who made this first as project, and later it became ADRA big projects. And so Larissa was my dear friend from my musical past in Ukraine. We have been singing together in one group, and earlier it was the time when Svetlana Remzhina was studying with Larissa together at conservatory and the musical academy. And time passes, all these events, sad events and tragic events in Ukraine are developing, and comes the time when we here in Sweden start thinking and planning our Christmas time. It was about around September, even earlier, summertime. And I was thinking, maybe it's time for us to buy some beautiful things to sell on the Christmas market for charity. And
handicrafts
this time, handicrafts.
Yeah.
And this way fundraise, because I'm always thinking fundraising, right? I'm a fundraiser. And yes, and I was looking for this, for something to order from Ukraine, for some beautiful pieces. And this my Larissa friend, she actually showed me the beautiful bracelets and the necklaces that Svetlana is doing from the Indian pearls. And I was really smashed by it. I loved it, and I contacted Svetlana, and we have so much in common. We are both musicians, and we blah, 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 blah. We started talking and discussing these beautiful pieces, and no one can stop us, of course.
Yes.
Yes, and she showed me, I have this and I have that, and I want to buy everything, of course, yes. And so we are discussing it, and under discussion, Zaporizhzhia, the place where she's being lived, started being bombed, and I'm terrified by that. I realized how much in danger she is, and I said, like, look, we should stop discussing these pearls. We should evacuate you immediately. And so I switched totally to different projects, how to evacuate her and her father. And we started discussing with the family and father, and she also has a brother who is a military. He's a soldier in Ukrainian army. So we started discussing all this. We need to take Svetlana, and the family is like, we have to stay here without her, but she's having such a beautiful job in theater. But theater is right now under attack.
Closed,
it's being bombed. It's closed. There is really no good future in the nearest future. We don't see it. So I started negotiating with her father and started trying to persuade him and come together. I said, we will find a way to, because they were really afraid to leave their hometown, to go through this journey to nowhere they don't know. And
so you can say that actually it was interesting because you were thinking of how you could fundraise.
Right.
You were thinking about buying handicrafts from Ukraine because it was in Sweden we've been very aware of the war, and this was one way of helping people.
Right.
You know, you can at least buy something from the people
exactly.
they're making, and then all of a sudden it all switches, and all of a sudden you realize that this is a very dangerous area. I think we can mention that ADRA has evacuated over 57,000 people from Ukraine. I mean, only ADRA itself. And ADRA is, of course, a big network, and so it's from many different countries. But here in Sweden, we actually had a connection with Ukraine Direct, a humanitarian organization that was already doing they were going into the country, bringing in, it could be food, it could be other things, and then we were supporting them with the transport and sometimes with the material, and then we were asking them to evacuate when they would leave. And I think that this is the way that you actually were able to get Svetlana out of the country.
Exactly. Since we had this direct transport that was that particular very close time going with their mission, to Ukraine, with providing the necessary help there. So I simply arranged so that Svetlana is first at safe place in the Western Ukraine, and then later this transport came and picked her up. It was not the first time for me to do it, but with Svetlana it was so special because we musicians, we always feel this bond, you know.
Yes.
We always feel this bond. We always emotionally we do.
Tragic
Yes,
sometimes.
right.
Sometimes
Yeah,
tragic, yes.
And Zaporizhia is, maybe not everybody realizes that Zaporizhia is actually a front line.
Yeah.
Frontline, yeah.
And
Yes,
it's
definitely.
only 70 kilometers from there is a nuclear plant that is occupied by Russians. And right now, at this moment, they blackmailing the world because they occupied it and they do not provide electricity to the nuclear plant. It's really dangerous situation. And knowing that people are near there, being under such pressure, under such stress, realizing this reality is really terrifying.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
And I think that what is also interesting is that how people even are adaptable, because this is something that has hit us. I mean, there are several things, but one of them is that the Ukrainians seem to be very strong people. I mean, they don't give up very easily. We know that this war was planned by Russia to just be a walkover. It would fall very quickly and nothing would, but it's the unbelievable strength that the Ukrainians have. But then also that war can become an everyday thing. And I'm asking now, Svetlana, you to tell a little bit about the time you can, and now you can speak in Ukrainian and she can translate.
Yeah.
Yes, but tell us about that time before you were evacuated, how it was to live in Zaporizhia, for example.
Yes. Спочатку все сприймалося, коли почалася війна, все сприймалося як якась джок, якась шутка. І не було такого розуміння чіткого.
First, everything we comprehend like some kind of a nonsense joke. And we could not really, there was no full realization of what is going on. You fully does not realize what is happening, that it's actually a war you're in.
Yeah. It was a bad joke. I
Yeah,
mean, if you
bad
think
joke.
the whole world didn't believe that Russia would go in. Yeah, I understand that.
Да, потім почалися кожного дня аларм, і почався такий животний такий страх від цього аларму, і паніка в голові, і хаос.
Then every day there was this siren alarms going on, and from that sirens you have this animal fear. And that you cannot really resist, you cannot control, you cannot stop. And that's the hardest, the panic that you have from it.
Да, ну, але ж оцей страх і що я ще хотіла сказати. Потім хотілося допомогти дуже фронту, і ми театр закрили, але ж ми ходили в театр і робили для фронту там сітки чи щось, білизну для солдат. Ми шили.
Then there was this eagerness of response to the need around, especially to the soldiers at front. And so the theater was closed and we were doing the masking nets. And also we were sewing some clothes for the soldiers. And in that way you kind of felt that you contribute into
Да, і здавалося, що я протримаюся так.
And it really seemed that maybe we can handle it. Maybe we can like adapt and handle.
Но потім сусідній дом папи моєго розбомбили, і почалося вже депресія.
But then the very neighboring house
My father house.
where my father was living, a neighbor house to his house, was attacked by the rocket and it was destroyed totally. Then the real panic came.
And depression.
And depression came actually.
Не було настрою виходити на вулицю, з кимось спілкуватися.
There was no mood to go outside and talk to anyone.
And I'm thinking that here, since in Sweden, what happened was that Svetlana Kozachenko was actually put in charge by the church here in Sweden also to take care of refugees, of Ukrainian refugees that came. And in that way, you were connected to the immigration office and all of these places, and you knew how you could actually help in a practical way. Isn't that right? Yeah.
Yes, being a refugee myself, experiencing myself the culture shock first and the difficulties that you have, struggling with the language, struggling with not understanding where you are, what you can buy, what this product means that you see in the store, how to buy the phone, how to charge it. This is a country where new technology is used, and so like smartphones, and then you meet refugees from Ukraine that are elderly ladies, or maybe handicapped people, or maybe young children that came here without parents, and you need to provide them with all these first steps so that they could adapt, they could buy for themselves the ticket for the train, or maybe buy for themselves just a loaf of bread, or maybe download and register the phone. So and go to Migrationsverket, migrant service, and just be there with them, because it's such a psychological shock. It's so many new things.
Yes.
It's so many
information
that fears you, and people often are getting really after this shock. Usually, typically, after 2 weeks, they just say, "We want to go back to Ukraine.
Yes,
we cannot handle it anymore." And then this wave it's like circles.
Yeah.
The psychological waves of I want to escape out of these troubles is coming often, and you have to be a psychologist. Actually, even with Svetlana, I must say, she was on the phone and I was on the phone almost 24 hours when she was still in Zaporizhia, and even for her to concentrate, being under this bombing, and just to collect documents and things that are being needed. I was that person that helped her out. And now I must say ADRA is providing psychological help to people in Ukraine, and this is so much needed, especially for people who has lost their nearby. So those that are hiding right now, being in the shelters, being really, really scared. The children that sometimes families cannot leave their places because they have elderly parents that they cannot transport, and then the whole family has to stay, and it's small children that has to stay and has to be victims of this war, witness this war, witness the panic and despair of their parents, being themselves despaired. So I'm so proud that ADRA is providing so much needed psychological help in Ukraine. And I'm so proud to be a ADRA team, really. I think that I'm really proud.
Really
yes.
something that is
Yes.
helping a lot of people. And I'm thinking a little bit about this, Svetlana, when you were talking. I mean, you're telling about, actually we would call it in some ways post-traumatic stress also, because this is what happens after you have lived through, because the war just continued. I mean, when you came to Sweden, it had been going on not a full year, but I mean, it had not stopped. It wasn't that there was any stop in this.
No.
And I'm thinking that as a musician, you are also a person who has a lot of emotions. I mean, your whole work is around emotions, and it just must have been so, trying. I'm thinking also that you left your father there. You've left family members.
Yes.
And I think that here, Svetlana was a great, she was probably the right person to talk to you and say, okay, I know this is challenging. I know this is difficult. And I know that you also offered even your own flat in a place that was very far away from Zaporizhzhia before you were evacuated, right?
Yes, I have my parents' house in Lutsk, and the first months it became a point through which many refugees actually went through. It was natural to me, and I was not the only one who provided that way help. Ukrainians got united. Ukrainians felt as this brotherhood and this. I don't know. It was natural to me. Nothing special, but yes, Svetlana was my guest in that house. One of my guests.
One of the guests.
One of the guests, yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it happened like that.
That's very good. And I'm just thinking now, something else that you talked about, Svetlana, was coming to Sweden and using the gift you have, the music that you have, and getting the response. And you said that has also been part of the healing process to experience that. So maybe you can talk in Ukrainian and tell how it was to come, because I know you've been singing in so many churches in so many places.
Thank you, Siri. Я хочу сказати, що на Україні я не мала можливості так багато співати. І зараз, коли я співаю в Швеції, то для мене як терапія якась. І я сама себе лікую психологічно.
In Ukraine this late year, I didn't have opportunity to sing as much. Being here in Sweden and having this opportunity to sing for people, it works like therapy for me, and it heals me from inside.
І допомагає виразити ту біль, ту свою все, що я пережила в Україні, я зараз переживаю тут. І мені легше тут зі шведами, з шведськими людьми. І мені то легше становиться.
And having this pain inside, I can express it through performance, through music, through singing. And that way I feel myself being heard. I feel myself being healed.
Quiet.
Yes, being healed from the inside.
Yes.
And that's so beautiful. And as I was saying, that Svetlana has been very, very active since she came here to Sweden. She's been singing in very many different places. And I think one of the last places, not the last one, but one of them was actually when you were singing in the castle. I mean, the church that actually where the royal family was the attendants. And that was also a special experience, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah?
Fantastic.
We had the Ukrainian community was invited to the praying service organized at the Royal Chapel, and the Swedish royal family was organizing this, and Svetlana was singing there for them solo.
And this was one year after the war.
Yes, right. It was devoted to
1 year,
in memory to 1 year after the war. And actually, what a fantastic thing! Me and Larissa, we were also there. We were singing in the choir. But it was such a unity for us. It was like reunion for us.
І що ми не бачилися. 20 років з Ларисою не бачилися.
She hasn't seen Larissa for 20 years since they were in this musical academy. And it was fantastic to meet in this beautiful palace together with having talked to the royal family. Actually, I was so brave that I presented ADRA's work and Svetlana's story on a piece of paper. I wrote a piece of paper and I said, ADRA took Svetlana that was singing for you today.
Yeah.
So here we even presented to her this the necklace that Svetlana has made. So yes, we continue telling about ADRA to everybody.
Yes.
That's wonderful. But I'm thinking also that if we kind of round off this, because you had quite a travel from Ukraine to Sweden, and maybe you can tell a little bit about that, because it was not, I mean, you know, somebody comes and says, all right, come, we're going to evacuate you. And it's not just neighboring countries. So maybe you can
yes.
tell that also in
Як я їхала,
Ukrainian.
да?
Yeah.
Так.
Ну, спочатку їхати я не хотіла.
First, I didn't want to go.
Дуже багато було
Hesitating.
страхів, дуже
Lots of fears.
недовіри.
Untrust.
Да. І ну, я така домашня людина, я 20 років не виходила. Ну, я жила в своєму місті і все.
For 20 years, I never left my hometown. I was enjoying my family there.
It was stress for me.
Да.
Взяти і поїхати. Скільки? 2 місяці працювала Світлана зі мною.
It was a stress for me to just leave my home place, and for 2 months Svetlana was planning and persuading me, and every moment I was hesitating and making decision was not easy. I want to always say that Svetlana was actually a prima in her theater, and she was having a successful career there. So definitely you don't want to leave the place where you are successful as a singer, because for singers it's so important. So for me, and I cannot, of course, as just a resident in Sweden, I could not promise anything. But I said, Svetlana, I do my best, and we will try to present you in the best way here. And right now I'm proud, because Svetlana has had about, I don't remember how many concerts we had. I think 12 minimum, 12 minimum concerts we had since November to, and
4
now
months.
it's March, for 4 months. So it's amazing, and
Yes.
it's really engagement, and I must say, I see at Swedes how they react to Ukrainian music, and I feel so proud, because there is such a good reaction to Ukrainian music. You never think that Slavic music can impress northern people that has themselves such beautiful music. And so it was so beautiful to see this cultural intermingling. Yes.
Yeah, and I would like to say that actually there is more connection with Ukraine from the Swedish side. Already in the 1600s, there was a lot of Vikings and people, even from earlier in the 1000 and 1100. They've been living in Ukraine, and actually in the 1600s, it was a time where Ukraine asked Sweden to help them to set up their country. The constitutions and all of these things. And if you look at the flag, they are both yellow and blue.
Right.
And I mean, so there's a lot of connection, and I think that this is also something that maybe makes also Sweden feel very special for the Ukrainians, even though it is a challenge. But it's always a challenge to be a refugee. And we are going to, I know that, as I said, you sing very beautifully. And we're going to also be having some clips where you can hear Svetlana sing in reality. It's not so easy in a studio like this. But I want to say that we are proud that you've also taken these steps. We're proud that you have, managed up till now. And I'm sure that the good Lord has a bright future for you. And I know that all of these worries are not going to disappear. I know that many times you just want to go back. But I'm just saying, stay with us as much as you can. And we will, Sweden will also be at least your second home. It will not be maybe your first home, but it can be like a second home.
Yeah, second.
Yeah.
We must not forget about Magnus Lund, who was a knight for us.
In shining armor.
Shining armor, who took this dangerous trip and provided Svetlana with a rescue trip directly to Sweden, and he is doing an amazing job, and I definitely want to, from bottom of my heart, thank him for what he is doing.
Thank you.
To Ukrainians. And I am so proud that ADRA Sweden is helping in his project. So,
and I would like to say that Magnus is one of these ordinary people
Yes,
that
right.
when the war started, he just said, I have to do something. I mean, I can't just sit here and not do anything.
Yes.
And he took contact with ADRA Sweden, and that's how our work started together.
Yes.
And that's something that I actually like to leave with each of one of you. Everyone can do something when it comes to refugees. We celebrate, a Refugee Sabbath, and I think that it's a time for us to think, what can we do and how can we do something for the refugees that came? One of the things that I enjoyed was inviting the Svetlanas to come home for Christmas.
Yeah.
And I think we had a nice Svetlana and Svetlana, and I think we had a very nice,
beautiful, wonderful.
yeah,
It was magical Christmas. Thank you so much.
out in the woods. But I'm just thinking these are simple things that actually everybody can do. It's not. Sometimes we kind of think, what can we do? How can we do anything? But it can be. And here today, you've also heard some of the things. Svetlana was talking about, buying crafts and things, helping people in that way also to get financial
Yes.
support, inviting people, evacuating people, but also welcoming people. And I know that you're working very hard to get also to help Svetlana get a
Yes.
job, a proper job,
Yeah.
maybe in the opera or somewhere where she can feel that she is at home. And I'm sure that you would like things to go a little quicker, but you've only been here for 4 months. And I know that during that time, she has been also learning Swedish.
I want made this. Yeah.
Yeah. You're doing well, Svetlana.
Thank you.
And so I would just like to say thank you to both of you. I think you are fantastic women. You are showing that you are able to also make a change
Yes.
in
yes.
another country that is not your home country. And I think that it's an encouragement for other refugees also. It is never easy to start anew. We like what we know. We don't like to change,
Yes.
we feel safe. But I think that this is also something. Let us be good to each other. And you remember in the Bible it said during the time of the Jews, they were actually instructed that they were supposed to treat every foreigner as their own people, as their own citizens. And I think this is something we as a church, we as ADRA, definitely can do. Let's treat each other well, and let's see where we can help each other. And I'm really happy that we can have this little talk, and you will also be hearing a little bit from Svetlana's music, and she does sing well. Thank you so much, all of you, and thank you so much.
Thank you.